It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody! It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
Les Webster.
Hello all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello everybody.
Liz is back!
Yay!
Yay!
And there was much
Yay.
rejoicing.
I missed you guys.
We missed you too.
You'll have to aim better next time.
Yeah, you know, I'm working on it.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
I'm alive.
It's
Not
a little
bad.
rumbly tonight, so
How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Hope everybody out there is doing all right. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, this week, it's been an eventful week. So I'm actually going to talk about a Kickstarter
Okay.
because why not? You know, actually partly because when we drop this episode, it will really only have a few days left, and hopefully by then it will have made goal. It's like 3/4 of the way there now, with 9 days left. So this will drop. There'll be like 4 days left or so on it. It is called Kasai, Homecoming #1, and this is a story which is based in kind of a combination of mythology and pro wrestling. Which I admit I'm not normally a pro wrestling fan, but the mythology will get me every time, pretty much. So it's kind of based vaguely on Japanese mythology, and so there's like demigods involved, and there's lots of drama, and it's bound to be fun. Like I said, this is an issue #1. I am not sure, now that I'm thinking about it, how many issues they're expecting to run on this. But it's a 32-page issue. You can get a PDF of that for $5, and there's of course a ton of cool other stuff. This is being done by the SFC Comics line. They focus on superpowered sports type stuff, and they've got several other titles, and some of the other pledge levels include some of the other titles that you can get your hands on. Very cool stuff. You should definitely go take a look at it. They've got several pages of finished art here, and it's really pretty stuff.
cool.
That does sound cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And there's actually another tie to this that we will deal with next week. But anyway,
Now that's a tease.
that's a tease, boys and girls.
A major.
That was a pretty good one. Nice job. All right. Anyone else?
No, I don't really have anything. I've been working. That's what kept me out last week. So I've kind of read a little bit more. I picked up Time and Vine in trade, and that's been in my car. So
At least you picked it up.
page there.
What does your car think about it?
Right. Loves it. Runs better.
It's awesome.
Yep. So this is the week. I have to say I have nothing. Or I guess the popular term of the week, it's a nothing burger from me.
Liz's first bag of nothing. Aww.
Aww. Wah, wah, wah.
And we were here to witness it.
Yep. The fall of Liz.
That's okay. Maybe next week we'll have Liz's rebirth.
Yeah, Revenge of the Liz.
All right, if you want to go violent with it, fine.
You know, it's a woman thing.
Oh, okay. Take your word for that.
Yep.
Woo.
Alrighty. How about you, Les?
I picked up a copy from Archaia of a graphic novel version of James Ellroy's The Black Dahlia. I'm about a little over a third through this. I read Black Dahlia years ago, and it's a great storyline, and it does take place in 1946 when the Black Dahlia was discovered. This one brings back the novel, and I can remember what was going on in the novel at the time by reading this. This is a great book. I recommend it to anybody and everybody. It's a little over 150 pages, and it is just a great read. If you like crime novels that Ellroy has been doing so well for so many years, this was the first book of his trilogy, his Los Angeles trilogy. Second one was, or it's four-book series. Second one was LA Confidential. So that tells you who this guy is. LA Confidential was made into a movie. I believe Black Dahlia was made into a movie.
I think more than
at least.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, if you get a chance, dig this one up. It was a 2017 print, I believe, and this was a straight to graphic novel rather than issues. So it's excellent. I can't say much more than that.
Cool.
Nice.
Yep, I agree. I was catching up on reading, and there's a couple of books I want to point out, but also, I guess I was kind of getting nostalgic after last week's episode that I started trying to locate my Marvel superheroes role-playing game stuff.
Oh, Lord.
Because, there's still people that play that game. There's still active websites, and I know Mikey and I are following a podcast that focuses specifically on the TSR game, which has been pretty good. I hadn't listened to all of them, but I checked one out, and I need to go back and check out the others. I'm sure Mikey's checked them out.
I actually haven't gotten to that one yet. I need to.
Oh, okay. But the two books that really kind of caught my attention that I would like to point out, Mikey already knows this, and if you follow us on the website, because Mikey already did a review on it, was Abbott #1. Really dug this book. Les and I had read it last Sunday as part of our #1 club that I think we've mentioned a couple times in previous podcasts, that it's just a kind of a book club that reads the first issues and try as kind of a tryout, and this was one of the choices. And this is from Boom Studios, and I really dug it. I even told Les, and Les to a point agreed with me. Although he said it would take a little bit of rewriting, I said it was just a great little nostalgic noir book before you get to the supernatural aspects of it. It was just a nice little story, and if you're not familiar about it, it's about a female black reporter in Detroit in the early 70s. And she's working for a white newspaper, and she's the news, her and the newspaper are getting a lot of flack because there was a recent incident with the police and the death of a 14-year-old boy. And she's getting flack because she told it as it is, actually with what actually happened and all that. But she's investigating these series of murders, and like I said, the supernatural kind of gets into it, and that's it for the first issue. But I was kind of just drawn in from all the other aspects of it before the supernatural parts came in. I thought it was just a well-written story, and if it had just gone straightforward as a noir, I think it would have been great. But I'm not saying that the supernatural is diminished from it. I think it's just going to be intriguing. I like to see where it goes from there. But if it had just been a straight mystery crime book, I think it would have been just as good. It was that well written.
I agree, and see, I think that the way they rolled the supernatural into it, I think he did it at just the right pace that it made it. I think he made it easier to accept the idea, the way he rolled it in, because it was a very gradual kind of lead into it, and I thought it worked really well. In addition to, like you said, being a cool detective story right off the bat.
Right. I mean, you wouldn't really know it until she started having the dreams about her boyfriend, and then that's when you first got you got okay, something that's interesting. What's the significance of that? And then it goes from there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was really. I enjoyed the hell out of that book.
Yeah, it was really well
done. The other one is Detective Comics annual. I believe it's the new annual #1. I can't remember. It just came out this past week. But it's a modern take of the origin of Basil Carlo Clayface. And I thought it was so well written. And even though aspects of it takes place 20 years ago, it's definitely got a modern take. Those who are old school Batman fans like Les know the original Clayface was just an actor who just wore. It was just some kind of gel on his face that kind of made the face change and all that. It was, if I'm not mistaken, Les, right? And there was Matt Hagen. The second one was the one who had the kind of clay body. Yes. They could do whatever he wants to. And then it was, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it happened in the comics first. I think it was in Batman animated series where they basically combine both aspects and then use the Basil character. And then ever since then, that's pretty much how he's been handled. And I'm not complaining about that, but I think it's a really, really good story because he, dives into his childhood a little bit, and then his father was an actor, and then he wanted to be an actor, and things were going so well, and then things kind of go off track. But I don't want to go into too much details. But we already know what the ending is. But I thought it was so well written, and I thought it was really cool, and I dug the hell out of it.
Yeah, very strong story. It really is.
So I definitely advise picking up those two books if you can. Abbott's already gone to a second printing for the first issue. So obviously people are picking up on that one. Or are definitely getting word of that one. So that's cool. It's good to hear that. So. Yep. Alrighty. Before we get into this week's topic, I want to take a couple of moments to thank our sponsors. You fine folks at Things from Another World. Thank you for sponsoring the fellowship. Right now, it's just their evergreen deals, which are still pretty impressive. 40% off select comics, statues, toys, and merchandise. 30% off pre-order manga titles. And 50% off Nick and Dent comics. And how do you want to take advantage of these deals? Well, we'll tell you. Go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and click on our sponsors tab. And there you'll see information for Things of Another World, and if there's some new deals that come about since our recording, you'll see information and details about that, as well as links. So you can just click on one of those links there, and that lets them know that we sent you their way, and have some fun and get some great deals. Thank you, Things from Another World. Okay. Well, we are here, guys. It is episode 100. Woo-hoo!
What?
What?
Man, y'all are old.
Sometimes I feel it, too.
Oh, older than you know, Liz. Older than you know.
Thanks, I think.
What? Speak up. I can't hear you. What?
Hey? Hey? So I thought for this episode, we just take a little bit of a break and kind of go over some of our favorite moments, or just things that we've kind of enjoyed doing, or we've come across these previous episodes, and just kind of have a little fun, kind of a look back, and maybe give a glimpse of what we might be having down the road. So just basically just kind of have a little fun, and who knows where it goes from there. Right?
Yeah, because we never stay on track, do we? So we're going to start out here, go here, and then wind up here.
Well, that's usual our MO, isn't it?
Right, yeah. It works.
It's just not always the here, and here that we planned on going to, but that's all right.
Yeah, most of them were not in. Yeah, this is a little bit more intended free for all.
And then the whole thing goes silent and nobody says anything.
That's the scary part.
Hey, you told me you edited those out.
I do. I totally do, and I'll do it today too. But yeah.
Matter of fact, I think it was. You don't have to babble so much, Liz.
Oh, we just haven't had that meeting yet, but it's coming. No, I'm kidding. Babble all you want.
I'm good at babble.
And you talk about quiet moment. We're going to have one here in a minute.
We're building up to one real quick. That's for sure.
Real quick.
Real quick.
Like after I finish this question. So, guys, what's one of your favorite moments?
I so wish I had a crickets sound effect to stick in there. Maybe I can find one.
If I could whistle right now, I would try to.
That's actually not bad. But anyway, if I'm going to throw something out there, and that's not to say I only have one thing to throw out there, I'll go back to something I actually mentioned when we had a Q&A episode a little ways back, and one of the questions was what do we like or dislike about our own show? And I'm going to stand on one of my answers for that, which is, for me, the whole purpose, well, not the whole purpose, but a large percentage of the purpose of this podcast, for me, is an excuse to hang out with y'all and chat. I mean, that's a big part of it. I mean, the fact that we talk about comics, I don't want to call that incidental, because I think it's important. It's important I think it's important to each of us individually, and it's important as a group. But in a way, there's a certain part of me that I don't even care what the podcast is about. I mean, it's an excuse to have a regular conversation with my friends, and that to me makes the whole thing kind of important in its own way.
Yeah.
I mean, and getting personal and sappy right off the bat here, but that's a large part of it. I mean, that we do get to talk about cool comics, and we end up. I mean, I get ideas for new stuff to read from you guys, and I'm sure we all get new stuff to read from each other, and that's great.
Yeah.
So there's just kind of a camaraderie, and just, if nothing else, an excuse to kill Tuesday nights on a regular basis with conversation. The fact that we happen to record it and stick it out into the world, that's just the modern age we're living in.
Yeah.
That is greatly appreciated. I want to thank you for saying that. That is appreciated.
That is.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm sappy right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see
now,
it.
if y'all want sappy. No, I totally agree with you, Mike, because when Thomas approached me about, being on the podcast with you guys and stuff, to be honest, I was honored, because I've always looked forward to my comic time when I go to the comic book store and I get to talk to Thomas for a little while, and I get to talk to Les, and I'm really enjoying getting to know you, Mike. And so it's kind of neat. I feel like not only am I the new person on the show, but I listen to all the experience that you guys bring to the table. And you guys always force me to look at something a different way. Not force, but you guys make me look at it a different way that I hadn't thought about it. So to me, it's kind of like I'm renewing a different understanding on the comics I already enjoyed, if that makes sense.
It does. And that too. Thank you.
Yeah. And I have my Tuesdays back with Les.
It's like Tuesdays with Maury, isn't it?
I was about to say, where's Maury?
I don't know if we could handle having a Les and a Maury in the same podcast. I think we would explode at that point.
Things would explode.
I wanted to mention, I kind of wanted to go back to that Q&A episode as well, Mike, because there was something that I said there that it still rings true. Because there's times, and those who are listening that are fellow podcasters or done podcasts in the past, you understand this. This can be a grind. You're doing it every week. You're trying to make sure you got new content out, and you got someone who's trying to plan them and produce them, someone editing them, like Mike. He edits our podcast and that kind of stuff. And it can get a grind and that, and there's times I won't speak for anybody else, but I'll speak for myself, that I'm like, oh God, I just really don't really feel like doing it tonight. And then sure enough, by the time we finish recording and then we start kind of talking just between ourselves, I'm like, that was a blast. That was fun. Talking to you guys, I enjoy it. I love having fun with you guys. Yes, there is seeing things, having my eyes open to something I hadn't thought about before, and that's always greatly appreciated. But I enjoy the camaraderie, and I think that comes across in the shows themselves. And I thank y'all for that. I thank y'all for having the same fun that I'm having.
Oh, and the rest of it too, because I mean, very rarely does a week go by. I mean, we start recording these at 9:00 at night. We often don't finish until 11:30 or 12, and I will be, I mean, regular work day and all of that stuff, and come home, put the kid to bed, and get on Skype, at 9 o'clock, and I'm usually pretty wiped at that point.
Right.
But by the time we get done at 11:30 or 12, I'm up for the next hour because I'm so wired, because it's just that kind of thing. I mean, it just gets me all psyched out and psyched up, and I can't shut my brain off anymore after that, despite the fact that my alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning. But that's all right. Sleep is for the weak.
That's what 5-hour energies are for.
Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that to my body.
I do that with a Monster on my way to work.
Well, there's going to be a point where we hear about your heart exploding at some point.
Right.
Jesus, that's brutal. You're not supposed to mix those things. It's just not. It's just, you don't cross the streams.
That's right.
Don't cross the streams.
I try not to, but, you know. He said there's some mornings, especially when you're on your third round of Sesame Street and your eyes start dropping.
Woohoo!
That will just drive you to drink.
Right? Especially when you figure out you've been on your phone for the last hour going, who's the purple wiggle? So yeah, I need those. Nothing else, maybe a heart attack will shake the day up a little.
Wow.
That was friggin' dark. Okay.
Right. I'd get a vacation.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have always enjoyed the fact that we'll have artists and or writers on with us. Those people will actually dare. They'll actually put their fame at risk to be with us.
You mean those that we refer to as suckers?
Suckers, I thought we called them. Oh, never mind.
No, be nice now. We want to have more guests on our show. Don't go picking on them now. Jeez.
Please direct your comments to the others of this group. Amos and I are not part of this. No, it's been, to me, it's been a gas to talk to these people about their upcoming projects or the stuff that they have in wait. Now, yes, we will have more, maybe soon, but the opportunity is going to be so much fun to pick their minds and see what kind of tree they would really want to be. So the idea of getting to ask them, and Thomas and I did this 3 years ago, Thomas, when we had, gosh, now I can't remember.
I think that's closer to 4.
It's probably been a little bit, yeah, may even been longer than that. You're talking to Steve Niles?
Yes, about his upcoming work. Yeah. And the fact that he was shutting down one of his titles and going to do a crossover and getting to talk to him and then have him forget that he was going to have a meeting with us, so we had to delay it.
Well, because that was just around the time of the 30 Days a Night and
Macabre.
Yeah, the crossover. That's right. And there was a little confusion because he was living in California at the time. So when we set everything up, we were thinking it was Central Time, because for those who may not remember or just don't know that we are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so we're in Texas, so we're Central Time. So there was a 2-hour difference. So yeah, and we had caught him as he was eating lunch. Like, well, we called at the time we were supposed to be calling. Sorry.
Well, I kind of felt like a phone person just calling to see how your internet was or something, because to interrupt somebody at a dinner or a lunch, that obviously that's when they normally do that. So just being here, having the opportunity to speak with these folks is just tremendous, and I wouldn't want to trade it for anything.
Yep, the interviews are pretty cool. I will admit, too, that I was a little hesitant at first with the interviews, but man, they've been some of our most fun episodes. So
They have, and we appreciate their patience with us, because we're like, hey, we're still kind of getting used to this.
right, it's right up front. We're telling them we're not professionals. we're not getting paid for this, so bear with us.
And that's where they go, oh man, we're not being paid for this either.
Yeah, but they're getting free publicity.
True.
And
Yeah, it's just fun.
And usually quite a bit of praise.
True.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was spawning all over carrying more, so.
That's okay. I think we all fawned over Cullen Bunn.
Yeah.
Maybe me more than anybody else, but whatever, And the others have been a lot of fun too.
Yep, they have been.
Who was our first? Thomas, I'm going to have to go way back. Was it actually...
For our first interview on the podcast,
Wasn't that Terry Moore?
No, I'm even looking further back.
Oh.
Was it per Kayla?
Okay, so you're going back to the webcast.
Yeah, I'm going all the way back.
Yeah. Our first one ever would have been, per Kayla. Our first one for the podcast, I think, may have been... Was it Ashley Robinson?
No, I thought Terry Moore was before that.
Was it Terry Moore before that? Okay.
I think it was Terry Moore.
Okay.
And didn't y'all talk to him years ago as well? Or am I remembering that wrong?
We talked to him as a fan at a con, but not really as a, trying to do an interview or anything like that.
Okay. I'm just remembering it wrong. That's fine. Big shock there.
Yeah. And we did the cast with the creator of Halloween Man, and that was at...
the con.
Yeah, the
Strip con.
It was Strip Con, which was actually, before anybody says anything, that was a web convention.
Yeah.
A web comic convention.
Web comic convention.
So strip was actually meaning comic strip, not necessarily
not the other
taking
kind.
off clothes. Yeah, not taking off clothes.
No poles involved.
We remained clothed the whole time, which everybody was thankful for.
You're here. And what was fun about that one was the fact that we had the contest going on behind us. We had to keep shutting down so we could...
Oh, God. Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, the cosplay contest. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. We were trying to record interviews at this table, and literally the row behind us, we're like on the end of the row we're on, and which is like one row over from the corner. And in that corner, they're doing the cosplay contest, and boy, they had cranked up the sound for that.
Oh, God, yeah.
That was loud.
Oh,
man.
That day was a lot of fun.
It really was. And it was a one-day show.
Yep.
Yeah, I miss that convention.
Yeah,
Did
they ever do another one, or was that the last one?
They were trying to do another one. That was actually, they had done a couple.
Right, that wasn't
There was
the
going to be,
one.
Yeah, that wasn't the first one, but they were going to try to do another one, and honestly, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it just went belly up or what, because, I mean, there was they had actually started promoting another convention, and then next thing I know, there's nothing. That's been several years ago.
Yeah, that's been
Yeah.
at least 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a way we could claim we killed that con, but
You killed it.
May as
The
well
con
mark it
killer.
up.
that would be a sad thing because it was a cool little con. I mean, it wasn't a big con or anything, but it was very. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a
We met
blast.
a lot of really cool people that day.
Now, didn't Diamond try to do something where they were going to link all the different comic book stores together for some kind of like web show or something like that too?
Yes, that was because I just saw someone ask about that within the last couple of days. It was like Coast to Coast Con or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Because someone was asking if they were going to do it again this year, and they're not doing it. They're not going to do it anymore.
Huh.
And I actually liked the concept because the whole thing was it was basically just panels that were streaming, and that comic book stores can be just having on their TVs and have them going, and then you would have some con exclusives delivered to your store and that kind of stuff. It was kind of an interesting idea. I had thought about doing something similar, but having more of a independent slant, since the independent publishers don't really get the kind of the publicity that the bigger publishers do, and who knows? Yeah. There may be a day that might happen, but I think that would be a great idea because obviously some of the smaller publishers can't. They'll make the trek to San Diego or New York, maybe Chicago, but how about say here in Dallas or Portland, or some of the other places? Well, they can't do that. They can't do all the cons.
Right, because
they're looking to be.
You go to San Diego and New York, and a lot of those poor little guys have killed their budgets at that point. I mean, they're done.
That's right.
That's all they can afford to do.
Or if they can do that at all.
Right.
So,
well, and then when you go to those big ones, you're such a small fish in a big pond, so sometimes you can get lost,
So doing something like that, I think would be a really cool idea. And I don't even think I've told y'all guys that idea, but I thought that would be really cool to do. But if someone else does it, hey, you heard it here first.
Yeah, if someone does that and somehow manages to make a profit off of it, then yeah, we want to cut.
Who knows? Maybe there's someday we might be able to make that happen, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Since I'm dreaming, I might as well keep dreaming big.
Absolutely.
See, I have a friend who goes to the Comic-Cons and does Facebook Live, because a lot of times he knows I can't go. So, but we've seen some of the smaller artists from Artist Alley actually get a big table, and like I said, we've seen one guy come from selling prints to now he's doing trading cards for Topps and Star Wars and The Walking Dead, and it's kind of like, wow, I knew him when, So it's kind of neat, but yeah, he does. I told him, I said, you need to put all that together and just do like a show, because he's always out and about and never meets a stranger,
Something you guys introduced me to, I think is so much fun too, is our episodes with Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
I end up.
Is that a bunny pit or what? Holy cow!
Yeah.
I find finding so many things that I had no idea were out there.
Yep.
And it's such a fine feeling to know that there is a possibility.
We have obviously have had some kind of impact, because I remember after the first one we did, we started getting hit up by other people who say, "Hey, by the way, I've got a Kickstarter project, and I'm sure Mike's been hit up too." And it seems like we really get an influx of this stuff right after we do one of the episodes. So we obviously are, are we making a difference? I don't know, but we're obviously seeing, we are getting notice at those particular times for sure.
That's cool.
Yep.
I hadn't really looked through there until the first show that I did. Well, it was one of the first shows that I did with you guys was Kickstarter. And it was just neat because it was, like you guys said, just so many different things I had no idea. So I still look through there. It's pretty cool.
It's easy to get lost in there.
It is.
And it's easy to want to spend all your money in there.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of great projects that you go, hey, I would really want to support this.
Yep. Have to be careful.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of like, it was kind of funny. I'm not even sure how this came about, but I really like doing the fan casting, and the most recent one we did with the Christopher Reeve Superman films, I've gotten some comments, really impressed with her picks. That's been fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little challenging, but that's fine, But it's been, we've done 3 of those, and we'll do another one here in the not too distant future, and I'm not sure where we'll go after that. But it's been, I can't even tell you right now how I came up with the idea to do that, but that's been a blast.
Yeah.
Yep. See, and that's another one, and I'll admit, I'm a total geek when it comes to doing, any kind of research. And a lot of that stuff, because we're talking about specific time periods, there's research involved. We have to kind of go back, and I've got the kind of memory where I can remember some faces from stuff I've seen in reruns from time periods like that, but Les is always pulling names out of his butt that I have no idea who he's talking about until I see a picture, and I'm like, oh, that guy, yeah, okay. And yeah, and so I on those I enjoy just sitting down for a couple of hours, usually like the Sunday night before we record on Tuesday, and just sort of buzzing through and looking at time periods. IMDb is really helpful for that for me, because you go back through, some schmuck has put a best movies of 1978 list up on there, and it's got pictures, and it's got links to all the IMDb pages for these movies, and they all have pages, and they've all got cast lists and crap, and most of them have pictures, and it's really helpful. But yeah, that kind of research, that's just fun for me, because I'm just that kind of weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone there. I enjoy trying to cast stuff because I want to find some of the more outlandish ones, ideas, and it's not to make a joke, but it's just trying to stretch the mind and see if this could have been a possibility.
Yeah.
Well, and it's fun to stump us, I'm sure.
True.
And it's fun to stump you guys a little bit. I think that's part of it. I'm not going into it expressly to stump anybody, but it's that slightly different, that thinking about somebody you wouldn't normally think about in a role, even though they match up sometimes with it real well. And it's fun doing that.
Yep.
I have to also, I'll throw this out here just for fun.
Okay.
Given how many of these we've done, I'm actually a little bit impressed at how few weeks we've missed in that time. We're given 100 episodes. We've done that in like 103 weeks.
Yeah.
Thereabouts. And that we've only missed 3 episodes, 3 weeks in 100 episodes. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought we would skip more weeks. And I think early on, if we were going to do it, we would have done it early on. But I mean,
Right.
I think it didn't take us long to get to where we were just having so much fun recording it that we just were doing it every week because it's.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in fairness, it's actually two, because one of them we had technical difficulties. We recorded it, but it was so bad that we really couldn't put it out.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
So.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to edit
one.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Of all people, I would think you would remember that.
Mm.
So really, it's only been a couple, and so that's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. And I also have always been impressed by the fact that a certain member of us being on vacation in Hawaii, and we still didn't miss any episodes in that time frame.
That's true.
I mean, damn. That's crazy. If I'm in Hawaii, I gotta say, well, okay. If I'm in Hawaii for 2 weeks, or however the hell long it was, it might have been a month. I don't know. He's just jet setting all over the world all the time. Less. I gotta say, I'd be hard pressed to think about recording a podcast if I'm in a place like Hawaii. If I'm at the beach and I'm going to leave the beach and I'm going to go into a hotel room or cabin room or whatever the hell they were staying in and plug in all my shit and get on Skype using whatever crappy Wi-Fi the hotel or cabin has and record a podcast episode. I gotta say, that's some dedication right there.
That is.
Well, this just comes back to the fact that I enjoy being with you guys to talk comics. That's all that is.
Aww.
Yeah.
Plus, I get out of the sun.
And in fairness, it's a credit to both of y'all because y'all have done all of these. I've missed one. I missed one early on I think it was for work purposes or something. There was something where I just could not make it, so it was just the two of y'all. So, pat yourselves on the backs because y'all have done all of them. I hadn't.
I actually didn't think about that. Yep.
And it was real early on. It was like the second or third episode. It was real early on.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. That was a weird one. That one felt weird too. No knock on Les or anything. He carried his weight, no question. But that was, I don't know. It ain't the same. It ain't the same without any of us at this point.
I say y'all know I really had to work last week, right?
No, this was not intended as a guilt thing. I assure you.
No.
We're not trying to guilt you.
But since you brought it up.
Right. No, I don't have a computer there, just my phone. I guess I could have done it on my phone, huh?
There is a Skype app for the phone. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I was going to say, next time, for sure.
No. Working
Before I pull the plug, I'll think of less than Hawaii.
Okay.
It helps. In a way, it helps that we do this as late at night as we do. But, yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it was after that one that you missed, Tom. That was when we switched to Tuesday nights. Because we had been recording. We had started out recording on Thursday nights, I believe.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And so, I think it was your schedule. You just were like, I don't know if I could do this. And so we were like, well, screw it. Let's try Tuesdays. And it's been pretty much magic ever since.
Very happy fit.
It was a switch that worked well.
Yeah, it was funny because I was I was available on Thursday nights when we first started, and then quickly that changed. So we were like, well, let's do it on Tuesdays because I'm available Tuesdays. Then my Tuesdays got kind of changed, so we pushed it later.
Right.
But that actually worked out for you because daddy duties and all that as well.
So I can
So,
get the kid to bed and be in here by 9. Yeah.
so
And the other funny part of that is every interview we've ever had, we've recorded on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. I mean, it has worked out perfectly every time.
Yeah.
I say that, I think we might have bumped it early once. We might have moved it up to like 8:30 one time or something.
Yeah. It wasn't that, yeah.
And it was, it was 8:30 for a 9 o'clock record. I mean, come on. It has worked out beautifully.
We've been lucky.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very fortunate.
I guess I'm the only one that sits next to a grizzly bear, though.
Yeah, I'm alone in the room. I admit it. With the door closed.
Yeah, same here.
I have the luxury of doing that. I mean, nobody wants to
I
be
just
near
have
me.
traffic.
Well,
Yeah, he's got Grand Central Station next to him.
he does seem to live next to a freeway or something. I don't know. Then there was that whole Castle Frankenstein thing that was happening before we actually started recording. That was wild.
That was weird.
Yeah, it seems quiet now.
It does.
Yep.
Now that I just jinxed it.
Well, it'll sound cool if it happens. I'll leave it in. Well, I mean, I kind of can't pull that out, but
Right.
whatever.
So, what would you be interested in wanting to do in the next 100 episodes? Something that we may not have tried before, or something we've done once and said, hey, that was fun, let's do that again.
Shit, if we can make it to 101, I'll be happy. I kid.
I say, no, we have to, because Les has read the book, right?
Oh.
We don't know that.
We don't know that for sure yet. He has not owned up.
And thank you for the silent train, folks.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of enjoying what we're doing, so more of the same would be fine.
Okay.
This is dangerous, but I'll say it. I'm kind of starting to work on a list of maybe other potential interviews. We'll see. I have a few. I'm working on a few suggestions.
Okay.
Folks, to see if we can pin down somehow. I don't know.
Cool.
We're not the hugest podcast out there, so I don't know what access looks like, but it doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying to do some more interviews for nothing else, just to get more experience.
Yeah.
Oh, and we get to fanboy out too. So
that's right.
It's, as much as anything, it's just kind of fun for us, and we get to talk to creators that we're interested in talking to, or publishers in some cases, and whoever. We have the ability to do that with the podcast that we wouldn't maybe have had before. I mean, we don't have to pay to get into an overpriced con, to talk to somebody that we might want to talk to, and we have their attention a little more in this setting than we would at a con.
Yeah.
And considering how a lot of creators are treated on social media, for them to jump on with us for an hour and a half or 2 hours and just basically nothing but praise for them, probably a nice little ego boost for them too.
Well, it's a thought, yeah. That's okay. We're happy to provide that service.
Depending on who it is.
Well, sure.
No, yeah.
Well, we don't kowtow. And that's a strong point. People may say, well, you never talk bad about somebody, but it's not like we're trying to be the worst people around.
Right.
Right. I mean,
see, I'm not like a Morton Downey. Wasn't he the guy that was always putting people down and everything else? But I'm also the kind of person that if I don't like someone, I'm usually going to tell them that. You know? So I don't know. like I said, I'm usually the one that friends ask me because I'm going to tell them if you've asked me. But I'm also one that if there's someone I do really appreciate, I tend to gush and, so it all depends. But like you guys said, I'm not one to kiss ass,
Right. And, I mean, the other part of that for me is, I mean, and I've kind of said this, I think, before, in regards to the website specifically, but I think it applies here as well. I mean, on the website, I'm a reviewer. I'm not going into it with any ideas about being a critic. My whole purpose for the reviews I write is I want to tell people about a book that is cool. More often than not, if I don't think a book is cool, I'm not going to review it. I'm going to pick one that I think is cool that I want to encourage people to read. That's my deal here. I'm not here to talk bad about anything.
Right.
So, I mean, and stuff comes up when you're talking in an interview, it's a little different because, I mean, part of the conversation sometimes, I mean, there's parts of something you might not think are as cool as somebody else does, and that's fine, but you also choose not to be a dick about it, right?
Well, I take our conversation about, oh God, his name just popped out of my head, Alan Moore. And I think, there was two sides of the fence and everything else, but we did it in a way that nobody was attacked or made felt bad because we had a difference of opinion, So that's one thing I also appreciate about the show. We all have our different opinions, but I wouldn't say it was bad, but
Right. It's okay to have a different opinion.
Right, it is. I mean, and sometimes, like with Alan Moore, I just personally don't care for him. I love his work, but...
Well, and he's a very abrasive person.
He is. Yep.
I mean, there are lots of times when I've read stuff that he's said that I'm like, why the hell are you talking?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares about this. Why are you saying this? But, I mean, and then he turns around and creates these amazing pieces of literature, basically. And, I mean...
So he'd still be amazing to interview, but...
It would, but you definitely want to keep the topics of conversation away from politics and probably away from DC in general. But
religion and...
Yeah, don't go there with him. That would be awkward, to say the least.
Horrible. Yeah.
Right, but that's part of the skill of learning to interview people, and all of that is you learn to foresee
sidestep.
Things. Yeah, you learn to see things coming and kind of steer away from them.
Yeah.
Unless you just want your show to be arguing with Alan Moore or whatever. An interesting concept, but I don't know, A, that we could keep it up, or B, that I would even want to listen to that for very long.
Right.
A few minutes and I'd be done.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, part of this is us kind of creating a show that we would want to listen to.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's something we've even talked about. I mean, we just kind of do what we do naturally, just because we're doing it as part of what's essentially kind of a natural conversation. We don't.
That's what I was about to say. We don't write down what we're about to say.
Right.
And I know there's been a few things that I'm like, God, why did I say that? That came out way wrong.
Right, and. I mean,
it's funny in my head.
We've all been guilty of that.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be the title of my autobiography. But anyway.
I looked around and I was the only one laughing.
And that could be the title of this week's episode.
Yeah, I mean, and so you just do, I mean, we're letting the whole thing be pretty natural. And, I mean, you to an extent, you kind of get what you get out of that. And it's also one of those things that people are either going to listen to it or they're not. You kind of can't, my whole deal is I kind of can't think about that. I mean, I don't want to, I mean, I joke with Tom about trolling the stats all the time on for the podcast. And the reason I do that is I'm not picking on him. I'm reminding myself, because I'm the kind of geek that I would sit there and look at the numbers all the time if I wanted to. But I mean, I'm like, no, because there's no good end to that for me. For my personality type, there's nothing good that can come from that. So I'm like reminding myself all the time, don't even look at it. Just doesn't matter. That's not why we're doing this. I mean, if that happens, it happens, and if not, we're still doing it, and we're still having fun among ourselves. And that's not to say, by the way, people out there, that we're not up for suggestions and stuff. We totally are.
Yep.
But it's. I mean, we're in this to amuse ourselves for the most part. If we happen to amuse you guys along the way, great.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if it's the show or anything, but it kind of made my little nerd heart flutter this week. You know, I've been on Twitter since like 2004, I think, or 2014. I don't know. Anyways, it's been a while.
That's a big
I have
difference.
maybe since it's been around pretty much, but I don't have a lot of followers or anything because I don't really mess with Twitter very much. And I had Robert Downey Jr. follow me the other day.
Wow.
And it was kind of like, what?
Dang.
I don't follow him. He's Marvel. But, you know, it was kind of like, wow. Of course, I followed him back, but it was, you know, like I said, it's something that doesn't normally happen. But I only tweet our podcast stuff, you know, so I kind of got a kid out of that.
You should invite him onto our show.
Right? Yeah, that could be our big interview.
If he's listening, Robert.
Yes.
Hey, just
We'd
saying.
love to talk to you.
You can talk
Sorry
to us
about
as
the
long
Marvel
as you
thing.
want. Yes.
we do think you're awesome, man. We do.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was kind of cool, you know, just out of the blue.
It does happen. I've got all kinds of odd people following me that I never would have dreamed of. But
Yeah. Now, you get the regulars from, like, Potter and Family, which, you know, is pretty cool because then you get to see what they're working on and doing also. But I said that one just kind of, you know, boom, there he is.
that's pretty much how he likes to make an interest.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to look at the picture. You know who it was. And I think even on Twitter, his little byline is, yeah, you know who I am, or something like that. So, yeah.
That's true.
Yep.
Yep. Twitter is an interesting phenomenon.
It is. And I have to say, since the podcast, I've gotten a little bit more into that over there, you know. But it's kind of weird at times, and you just have to shut it down, put it away.
Yeah.
Where's my cat videos?
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
There are certain topics that they just go wild with, and
Mm-hmm.
you just kind of have to stop. Just go, no,
Yep.
I'll check back in tomorrow.
Yep.
Yep.
Or even if you agree with them, you know, the first 5 times you read it, it was like, yeah, hey, that's cool. And then after a while, it's like, God. You know?
Right. I am now officially sick of my own opinion.
Right. You know, NASA has confirmed aliens, and nobody blinked an eye on Twitter. It was kind of like, hello? Did you guys not hear this? This is awesome. So
It's a unique experience.
it is. And then some people, it's like, wow, I wish I had your life to where that was my only problem. You know?
See what you're missing, Les?
Yeah. You know, or what gets are these actors and actresses and all these famous people going over to these, like, third world countries, and they're like, oh, we should be doing more to help them. But you were at a con charging the same people hundreds of dollars for your autograph. You know? What were you doing over there again? You know? So, yeah, you have to shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I do want to take a few moments to thank some special people. We've already mentioned some of them. We've had on for interviews Terry Moore, Ashley Robinson, Colin Dunn. We've already mentioned those. Peter Smetty, good friend of the Fellowship of Alterna Comics. Really cool guy. James Vinhas. And, of course, our buddies, Carl Goad, who came on to talk Doctor Who with us. And a friend of ours we need to have on again. We need to have Eddie Medina on again. It's been a while. It's been too long.
Yeah, where the hell is he? Jeez.
Well, the plan was to have him on in December, and he couldn't or was it September?
I think it was. I think it was like September, October.
It was something like it was. Yeah, and he couldn't due to work. He was doing some work, but and honestly, I hadn't reached out to him. I need to reach out to him again and say, hey, it's been a bit. If you want to come on, so it's always been fun having him on. I do want to take a moment to thank Holly Briggs, who is a short-term member of the Fellowship. She was there with us for a while. Appreciate what she did for the show. And obviously, you dear listeners, thank you for the support and going on the journey with us. And obviously, I got to thank you guys for being part of it, because wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't without you. I wouldn't be doing this.
You wouldn't be doing this by yourself? Come on now.
Yeah, especially. Yeah.
I did that one week. It was weird as hell. Holy crap.
I honestly didn't know what we were getting into when Mike and I first started talking about this, which been a little over a year, 2 years ago. Because it was what, November or December of 2016, or was it 2015?
We moved on it pretty quick when we started talking about it.
Yeah,
for sure. And then we started recording.
We started recording in January, and then
we did a few practice runs before we started releasing stuff.
Right.
Which, given how rough some of those first few episodes were, may be hard to believe. I don't know, but
well, yeah, it could have been a lot worse. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But, our first podcast would hit the internet on the 28th of February 2016, so it'll be 2 years in a couple weeks. And this is actually kind of a special week for us. Not only are we celebrating 100th episode, but 7 years ago, on February 7th, which we're recording on the 6th, so it's tomorrow. Our first weekly broadcast, our first weekly webcast. You remember doing them weekly?
Yeah.
Because at one time we were just doing them every couple of weeks, and then we went weekly then. And then 4 days later, the website went live. Yeah. So the website's about to is turning 7 years old. So
Very cool. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Although the group's been around for almost 8 years, but the website, it took a while for the website to come around. That was something, once again, that none of this was something that I really planned on doing. It was just, hey, let's do this, and okay. And it just kind of happened. So it's kind of funny how this is all developed. You remember those days, Les?
Yes, I do.
You remember those days where we were sitting in the comic book store, and our buddy Joel was like, "Man, it would be really cool to be recording this conversation we were having." And essentially, 8 years later, we're doing that. Yeah. And had been doing it for 2 years.
Still doing it, right?
Yeah.
Did it for 3 years before. And
Well,
now
yeah.
we've been
I
at it
mean,
for
yeah.
two more.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. All the different webcasts as where there was just Les and me, and then later on when you, Mike, joined in, and we had James join in as well. I may need to sit down and just out of fun just try to figure out how much time that is, but I know a lot of those episodes are lost for, and it's a lot of the
Thank God.
webcasts. Yeah, a lot of the webcast episodes are gone, and it may be for the best. Um,
Are they in the hard drive labeled blackmail?
well, I don't know whose hard drive that would be, but I didn't download all of them from our original Ustream channel, and I didn't migrate them over all of them over to YouTube, but I did grab a few of them, especially the StripCon interviews, because we had there was 4 or 5 of them that we did that day,
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
and then the couple we did with Archaia, and then of course we started kind of streaming from YouTube or doing it as a Google Hangout, and that was that was tied into YouTube. So
So those are still there.
those are still there. We just lost a lot of the U streams, which, as Les said, I mean, good riddance. But although they were fun at the time,
Oh, yes.
and it's still fun, and I thank y'all for that.
Yeah, we try to be amusing,
Mm.
Everybody's involved. So,
Yeah.
Alrighty, any final thoughts before we take a quick break?
Nothing that wouldn't be extremely sappy.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You like me. You really like me.
Wow.
Great, Liz. Go ahead. Just make it all about you. That's fine.
she misses 1 week, and look at this.
She's
Yep.
just hamming it up. She's got to make up for it, doesn't she?
I have to make up. Yeah.
Alrighty, with that, we'll take a quick break and come back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It is time for our weekly picks, and leading off is Liz.
I'm going to start the picks off by saying Kick-Ass is back. It's bringing Mark Miller and John Romita Jr. back together. It's going to be a new guy in the same suit, so hopefully we'll figure out who he is and I guess what his issue is. But yeah, it should be really good. Yeah. Should be really good. Mark Miller, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. Miller? But anyways, he's kind of one of those that I saw a book, picked it up, got interested in, and the more I kept reading a couple of different stories, I found out it was the same guy writing them. So he kind of became an unintentional favorite. And I really haven't read anything by him I don't like, So, especially I read all of the last Kick-Ass, which it also looks like they're releasing all of those on trade, I guess, to get ready for this new series. But
Oh, probably.
yeah. So if it's a new guy, I don't know if you'd really have to know a lot of the back history to get started on this one. But it's usually a really good story put together by a really good writer. So that is my first pick.
Alrighty. That's a good one.
Choice.
Yep.
Yep. Pretty cool.
Mikey.
Okie dokie. I'm going to admit right up front, I'm going a little image heavy this week, but that's because they're a bunch of books I like are coming out this week. So, and the first one is Curse Words. Number 11 comes out this week. We are starting a new arc. So this is your chance to jump on board. And in this, at the beginning of this arc, at the very least, Margaret is missing. Everybody loves Margaret, so we gotta Got to know what's going on there. And we're probably going to learn more about where Wizard comes from. So those are the teases that I'm seeing here. So okay, gotta go get it.
Cool. Very cool choice.
Cool.
I am up next, and I've actually got a couple of number ones, new series. Or one of them's a series. I think one of them's going to be ongoing. The other one's limited series. But for my first choice, I'm going with Marvel Comics, and it is Star Wars Thrawn. And this is the adaptation of the Timothy Zahn book. And it's being written by Jody Houser, who's a favorite of ours, with art by Luke Ross. And this is basically telling the origin of Thrawn, of how he became the badass that we know him from the other Timothy Zahn books, the Heritage Empire, and then from obviously from the Rebels cartoon, which he's been so awesome in. I've been really digging that, but then again, I don't think I've hidden the fact that I really love that show and hate to see that it's about to come to an end. Matter of fact, the mid-season premiere is another few days away. I think it starts the day this podcast drops. So it'll be cool actually to see that book come to life.
Yep. He's been kind of a controversial figure given the whole dropping of the canon and the fact that he's managed to survive that. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a lot. We're going to see more characters from the now abandoned canon resurface with some of the projects that are coming up. I mean, just as of today, of recording date, it was announced that the guys who brought us the Game of Thrones TV series is actually going to be in charge of writing and producing a series of Star Wars films. And of course, that's kind of lit up Twitter. So if we talk about Twitter, Twitter early.
Yes, it has kind of lit up Twitter. Not always in a good way, but
not always in a good way.
Not everybody's happy about this. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So, alrighty, Les.
My first choice is by Meredith Finch and Vincent Cifuentes. This is Xena, #1 by Dynamite Entertainment. It's a 5-issue miniseries. It's Xena. This is, to me, one of the best creations of a female that fights outside of those known like Red Sonja. This is just, to me, this is going to be a fun read. And since it's a limited series, I can't see that you can go wrong.
Nope.
Should be good.
Pretty much right up my alley.
And storyline looks like it's going after the TV line where she was looking for redemption. So I guess the second half of the TV show. So it should be really good.
Yeah.
And Meredith Finch, who wrote Wonder Woman with her husband David doing the art, and she's written some books for, was it Zenscope? Or she's done some other stuff. Of course, Rose.
Yeah.
So if you like Rose, then you'll probably like Xena, especially if you like Xena. So definitely check that out. Right? You like Xena, and if you like Rose, then you'll probably like the Xena comic. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Liz.
For my second pick, I'm going with a Valentine's Day theme with Death of Love. It's from Image Comics, And it looks like Philo Harris had a bad night of drinking, and now he can see how the Cupid work, and he's going after him with a chainsaw. So should be one of those warm your heart, make you feel good kind of stories, you know.
You have a weird heart.
No, I've just been married too long.
Wow.
Since you described it that way, I think I'm going to go look for this one too.
Yep.
Yeah. I gotta say, that's got my curiosity piqued.
Yep.
Doesn't sound like a cute story.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Okay. I can only top that with an image book. I am picking Dark Fang number 4. This is actually number 4 in a 5-issue arc. And this is the story of Vala, who is, given the title, not surprisingly, a vampire. And she's lived for centuries, been around the usual stuff. The big difference is that one night she wakes up and one of her fangs is starting to turn black. And this arc is, and I'm calling it an arc in the hopes that there's going to be more arcs, because it's really kind of a cool story. Her quest in this arc is to find out why, and to figure out what it means. And she's already been a lot of places to try to figure this out, and we should be getting close to figuring something out at this point, this week. And like I said, it is an interesting take on a vampire story for sure. It is definitely cool. Definitely check it out.
Cool.
If it's a different slant, that's what I would be looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how into vampire stuff you are, but I mean, she's definitely a vampire, and she's a pretty, I don't want to get too spoilery with this. She's like I said, she's been around for centuries. She's kind of arrogant to start with, and so where the fact that there's something going on, there's some connection between her and something she's still trying to figure out. That's as close as I can get without getting too spoilery. It's different. It's interesting.
Very cool.
Cool.
Alrighty, I am up next, and I'm moving away from Image since everybody else has been.
Put out some good stuff this week.
Well, yeah, I was about to say. I mean, they're putting out good stuff, so yeah. But I'm going with Aftershock Comics, and this is Cold War, written by Christopher Ciobella and art by Hayden Sherman. And it's about a group of people who paid to have their heads frozen after they died, thinking they would be brought back and be in a new paradise and all that. But when they are revived, they're giving weapons and body armor and told they must fight a war against some unknown opponent for unknown reasons, as the synopsis says. So this piqued my interest big time. I want to give this one a try and see, because it's definitely different.
Does sound different.
Yep.
Is it posted as a limited series?
It doesn't say, but I can't imagine it going real long. But I guess it could.
It sounds good either way.
Right. So, alrighty, Les, you are next.
For my second choice, Action Lab is bringing back Athena Voltaire.
Yay.
Yes, if you got to read the book before, it's like a female Indiana Jones, and she hates Nazis to the highest point, and usually she ends up fighting Nazis. But it's the original book was pretty nice. It had great art, a really great storyline, and you got a little bit of background with Athena. And I think this new series, which is a monthly, is going to expand even more. By the looks of it, it will be an ongoing series. So to me, it's well worth the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did like the previous series, and I'm really looking forward to this one. It's always fun to have a little bit of 30s and 40s pulp action going on.
Yeah,
I agree. I kind of try to seek that out too.
Alrighty, and our honorable mention this week.
Oh, I have our honorable mention this week, and it's an IDW book. This is a graphic novel, and it is a new kind of updated edition of a book that came out 30 years ago or so, and it is called Lovecraft, The Myth of Cthulhu. And it is a black and white comics adaptation of 3 of Lovecraft's stories, including The Call of Cthulhu. So if you are not familiar with H.P. Lovecraft, you might actually be surprised. You might have seen some of these images before, or at least have a little more of a sense than you might realize, because he's a pretty foundational horror author. Most of the horror writers working today have been influenced by Lovecraft in some way. So this is kind of a nice graphic novel throwback to some of his work, and it's actually stuff that I have not seen, but I am very interested in seeing what they got going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Alrighty. Any special mentions or shout outs this week?
No.
I didn't write anything down.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. We'll get to our regular ones then. First off, Manny the Martyr for our music for the podcast. Should definitely check them out. We'll have a link in the show notes. Or you can go to the website and go to our podcast tab, and we'll have a little link there. So thank you guys very much. Also, the fine men and women who make up the Pottern family on Twitter. We appreciate their support and retweeting our episode links. You should definitely check them out. Just go to Twitter and do a search, #PotternFamily, and knock yourselves out. Any kind of podcast you can think of, it's there. And even if you're not looking for it, if you see something, download it, check it out, and I'm sure you'll be glad you did. And you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and checking out today's episode. And we appreciate the support in the past. We always value your feedback, comments, suggestions, questions. Mikey said it earlier. If there's something y'all want us to kind of talk about, a topic idea or something, we're always open and willing to listen.
We are your dancing monkeys.
So there are several ways you can reach out to us. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net would probably be the quickest way, or you can go to the website. And once again, that's www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Click on the About Us tab, and there's a contact form you can fill out. You can reach us through social media. On Facebook, we are the Fellowship of the Geeks. It's all one word. Feel free to follow us there or like us there. And we're obviously on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us there. And most of us, as I said earlier in the episode, have our own Twitter account. Mike is at Mikey Geek. Liz is at Newman_L. That's NEUMANN_L. And I'm at Tom TC Geek. Feel free to follow us there. And wherever you download or listen to our episodes, whether it's through iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, or iHeartRadio, please rate us if you would. That would be much appreciated. And if you have a couple additional moments, a review would be awesome as well. Did I miss anything?
Nope. Think you got it.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you. And thank you guys. You guys have put together a really good show here, and I'm really glad to be a part of that.
Aww.
Aww. Aww.
Well, we are happy to have you here too, and just a thanks for the folks, and we've had some great queries come up from them, and I'd like to see more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Pull them forward, folks.
Mm-hmm. For the 100th damn time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody out there, for your support, and thank you guys for being a part of this. You make it, all of y'all make it fun. And then until next time, when we start our next 100 episodes. Until next time, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,